All right, good afternoon. I'm going to call to order Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners Committee of the Whole for February the 18th. First item of business, clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner DeLuke,
Here.
Commissioner Gisler,
Here.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler,
Here.
Commissioner Mazer,
Here.
Commissioner Morales,
Present.
Commissioner Ray, Chair Strebs,
Here.
Vice Chair Taylor,
Here.
Commissioner Wheeler. You have 8 present.
Thank you, clerk. Move to our second item on the agenda is the opportunity for public comment. So this is time for members of the public to approach the board. Those in chambers, you're welcome to come to the podium. You'll turn the mic on, which will give you a red light when it is on, and you'll turn it off when you finish. If you're online and you wish to speak, please raise your hand. Administrative staff will help support you. Please come forward, share with us your name and where you live in the community. Welcome.
There you go. Appreciate you. Caleb Leonard, resident of Kalamazoo City and Kalamazoo County. I'd like to address some items very quickly. Currently at the federal government level, we cannot count on programs, services, or funding. I believe it was acknowledged, briefly brought up last meeting. So as a citizen, what I'm requesting and expecting out of you is to look at what are our programs that are directly federally funded, which ones are indirectly through the state of Michigan or other non-government organizations. Look through our books. Let us know what is at risk. Okay. We need to know what's the worst case scenario, what's the best case scenario, and how do we prioritize in between. And I know you guys are up here, you're already doing it, but please, we need to press the communication because we're all ignorant, and then we're going to be fearful, and then we're going to be angry. And then we get to hate and suffering after that. As far as my expectations of you, they've increased. I apologize, but we're in unprecedented times. And so I'm asking you guys to step up in ways that nobody's ever expected, nobody ever thought of. We need to be more than representatives managing the affairs of our county, but we also need you to be direct leaders, okay? Regardless of our structure, we need you out there. Please coordinate with the city, with the universities, with the libraries, with the public schools, collaborate together because between all of you, you have a lot of specialist skills that you can collaborate on to get a bigger picture of what's going to happen. So I'm saying this as a resident, as a father, as someone who has all of their benefits on the chopping block as a veteran. Please, this is going to hurt. People are going to die. We need to be ready. So with that, I'm just going to say, let us try, because if we do not try, we cannot succeed. Innumeracy and illiteracy must be destroyed. Thank you.
Thank you. Are other members of the public wishing to address the board? Seeing none others in chambers, Dina, is there anyone online?
There are no hands raised.
All right, thank you for that. This time we will close public comment. We're going to move to our interviews for the Land Bank Authority. All right, so board, we have one vacancy that will take us the term ending September 30th of 2027. We have 3 applicants that are before us, or at least 2. So first in our packet is Miss Christine Zoltan. Christine, are you with us? You're welcome to join us at the podium. There's also an empty seat if you'd rather sit for the interview. Whatever you're comfortable with is fine. Would you like to sit? Thank you. Please come and join us. Good thing I had them wheel away the extra chairs, so that worked out great. Thank you for the assist. All right. So you have a button on the mic in front of you with the little person on it. Clerk will show you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi.
All right. Ms. Sultan, I am Chair Strabs, Jen Strabs. I represent District 2 in the county. That's parts of Kalamazoo Township, part of the city and Western's campus. I'm going to just lead off the interview. We'll go around with the set of questions I think you've received already, and members will introduce themselves as we go.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Orient myself to our questions. Okay. So the first one, could you please share what it is that you know about the Land Bank Authority and why is it you're interested in serving on it?
Sure. Well, my understanding of the Land Bank Authority is that you partner with Kalamazoo County to obtain land that's vacant or derelict in some fashion, but it needs to be vacant, and purchase the properties and then redistribute them, sell them to people who are interested in revitalizing the community, essentially. So we don't have land sitting there that's, taking taxpayers' dollars and even just being eyesore, being dangerous to the neighborhood, that sort of thing. So it gives us a way to redistribute that land to something valuable. Why I think I would be interested in it is because I did come from a family who we had food insecurities. There was times we didn't necessarily know where we were going to live. And I think that a lot of people are hardworking and they just need a chance. And if there's a way to, if this is a way to help those people who meet the criteria, but give them a chance, then I think that's going to help families and communities and people who want to start businesses and that sort of thing. So that's why I want to be involved with it.
Great, thank you very much. Vice Chair?
Thank you. I'm Vice Chair Taylor. I represent the western half of Portage and the north or the southeastern portion of the city of Kalamazoo. What experience do you have that is related to the work of this Land Bank Authority? This could be professional experience or experience you have from the community.
With the Land Bank Authority itself, I honestly don't have any experience with the Land Bank Authority. Currently, I work for a major telecommunications company. I've been there almost 30 years, and we have employee resource groups. And I was just nominated as the Chief Digital Officer for the nation for the resource group that I volunteer for. So as far as being on boards, I have experience in doing that for the last few years. I'm familiar with the process and that sort of thing, so.
Hi, I'm Wendy Mazer, District 8. That's Texas Township, Prairie Ron Township, and Schoolcraft Township. Share what you have learned from working with people from different cultures.
Yeah, absolutely. I work with a very diverse group. The employee resource group that I represent, actually, we work for the advancement and inclusion of people with disabilities, seen and unseen. And so I'm used to working with people from all over, different religions, different ethnic backgrounds, different colors, different orientations, whatever it is. I'm very used to working with those group of people because really we're all the same, so I have a lot of experience. The company I work for is very involved in diversity and inclusion, and they have been almost for the entire 30 years that I remember working there. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Good afternoon. I'm John Gisler. Excuse me. I represent 5 of the 15 rural townships in the county. And it seems a little redundant to me, but I'm going to read you the question anyway. What training or education have you received in diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice? And how will you use what you've learned in your work with this advisory board?
Yeah, I mean, it harkens back to the things that I've already said. my childhood, there was a great deal of diversity there. I'm on the management side of things where I work, so I've actually had management classes for that everybody gets, geared towards inclusion and equality. And then just working in the field that I do, volunteering as I do too. So it's been experience my whole life, really.
Thank you.
I'm Miss Olden. My name is Dale DeLu. Can you tell me, what do you expect this advisory board to give to the community, and how can you help them in the work of the advisory board?
Well, I expect to give people a chance to give everyone a level playing field. We all have to meet the same criteria, but let's give everybody a level playing field to start with. And I expect us to continue to try to revitalize Kalamazoo, and that's really it. Let's try to make Kalamazoo the best community we can, and give folks an equal opportunity to be able to take advantage of these programs that are available to us,
Good evening. I'm Tammy Ray. I represent District 1. What are 3 things that a member of this advisory board should consider?
Well, I'm not one to tell you how to do your business, but from the outside, I would say the first thing that you have to look at is a return on investment, because we've got to be able to make some kind of a margin to continue to purchase properties and offer these. So even if it's a narrow margin, I would imagine that there has to be some kind of return on that. The second thing that I would imagine would be the people that we're selling to. Do we share the same vision? So are you actually going to do something with these properties, or are they going to sit there maybe for another 2 years and possibly even get worse than they were to begin with? Hopefully those visions align. And the third thing is, again, to make sure that it's equal, that it's a level playing field for everybody. That's just so important, especially nowadays. It's a passion of mine, is equality and inclusion is a passion of mine. So sometimes I get a little bit fired up about it, but those would be the 3 things that I think are the most important.
Thank you.
Hey there, welcome Commissioner Morales, District 3. What is the greatest strength that you will bring to the advisory board?
My passion for equality and my love of serving. Those would be the 2.
New button. Sorry. I'm Jeff Hepler. I'm County Commissioner for District 7, which is the north part of the county, Cooper, Richland, Ross, and Charleston. My question today is, are you available for the meeting dates and times associated with this advisory authority?
Well, I hadn't seen anywhere where the dates were published. I would make myself as available as possible. I do travel domestically for work sometimes, but when at all possible, I'll be available. I just would have to know what the dates are.
No, I'll speak to that. I think the land bank is in the process of redetermining their standing date and time.
Well,
Do you have something, Vice Chair?
we just had to cancel our last meeting because everybody was sick at the same day. But our next meeting, I believe, is March 13th. The treasurer is here. Yes, it's March 13th. It is the second Thursday of every month at 8:30 a.m. Am I correct in that? We're hoping to move it to 9 because there's a lot of people showing up at like 8:45.
So, yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I would do my best. I would have to check my calendar now that I have this information and do the best I can.
So the last question, there's an opportunity if you have any questions for us that we can try to field for you.
I actually do. One of the other things that I'm passionate about is helping our unhoused community. And I wonder if you have any connections or affiliations with programs with the land authority to maybe help with housing with the homeless community at all.
Oh, there's nobody better than.
Do you want to answer this question?
You want to come
forward for us, please? Sorry.
Commissioner Gisler. Thank you for the question. So we do work closely with several organizations that are specifically charged with working with the homeless population, principally the COC, which is housed at the United Way, Kalamazoo Housing Advocates, KHA. We work closely with them with the placement of voucher tenants, and also HRI, which is our local HARA.
All right. Makes me happy. Thank you.
Thank you so much for fielding that there, Mr. Bauer. Do you have anything else for us?
I don't believe so.
Okay. We appreciate your interest, taking the time to sit and interview with us today. We have other interviews that we're going to conduct. The board will then deliberate, we'll make a determination,
Sure.
and administrative staff will then reach out to you and let you know about any needed next steps or what happens with your candidacy.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Good. Thank you so much, Ms. Holt. All right. We'll move next, Ms. Barb Agrenin. Am I saying your name correctly? You're welcome to sit as well or join the podium wherever you're most comfortable. Might as well. Might as well. Thank you so much for joining us. So you have the mic in front of you. There's a picture of like a single individual on the button. If you press that, it will turn your mic on. There we go. Thank you. Welcome. All right, so you're going to hear the same set of questions that we just went through. And you've heard the introductions already as well. So just in brief, I'm Jen Strebs.
Okay.
I'll start with our first. So can you explain to me what it is you know about the Land Bank Authority and why are you interested in serving on it?
I think what I know is what I see, all the wonderful projects that have been done. I live in Millwood and we're very close to the Edison neighborhood. The Marketplace project was just fantastic. Those homes are just really, really nice and people are taking care of them. And it's just, you get a good feeling from knowing that the land bank was involved in that. The same thing with the creamery and the dreamery. That's even more fantastic because I know 24/7 childcare is rarely available and it is there. So I think that shows, they're reaching out to everybody's needs. I know there are projects on the east side that I really have not learned a lot about. And the north side too, but I think there are so many and they're all good. So.
And would you share, why are you interested in serving in particular?
This is kind of my goal. It kind of speaks to exactly what I believe in. A few years back, I started buying some properties that were foreclosed on and renovating them and eventually renting out some of them. It was never about the income. It was always about taking something that was broken and making it better. One neighbor, one house I did, the neighbor came over and said, you've taken an ugly duckling and made it into a swan. That was the goal, really. And I think the land bank really plays a big part in doing that for Kalamazoo.
Thank you.
Thank you. John Taylor, what experience do you have that is related to the work of this Land Bank Authority? This could be professional or experience you have from within the community.
Well, I think the experience I just mentioned, renovating homes. I'm also an accountant, so I can kind of view those financial matters very well. I have learned a lot about the unhoused people. I work with them at a ministry downtown weekly where we serve meals. And so many of those people are unhoused, not because of drugs or anything terrible that they have done. It's just a situation where, given the right help, they could be productive citizens and perhaps move into one of these land bank properties. But I think just my varied experience as an accountant and property owner.
Hi, Wendy Mazer. Share what you have learned from working with people from different cultures.
What I've learned is every family is different. I worked for a couple of years as a volunteer with a refugee family from the Congo, from Rwanda. And they were, it was a father and mother and 5 children. And the parents were so hardworking, it was just amazing. But they didn't pay attention to the kids. They had come from a refugee camp where they'd lived for 12 years. And the kids were kind of on their own. And so that was one experience. Right now in one of my homes, I have 2 Hispanic families. I've learned a lot about them. One of the parents is handicapped, so I've learned a lot of needs for that type of situation. I think just in everyday life, I run across a lot of different people for example, the in-house, you get a wide variety of cultures there, and you kind of learn to work with what everybody wants.
Thank you.
I'm John Gisler, and you probably heard earlier that I represent more of the rural turf of the county than city, but that's okay. My question, again, is somewhat redundant. What training or education have you received in diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice? How will you use what you have learned in your work with this advisory board?
One thing that I have done that's a little outside my norm is I'm involved in a program at St. Thomas More Church where we're looking at systemic racism, trying to understand it more fully. And it's been very enlightening. It doesn't get us any closer to helping to solve the problem. That's, I think, that's what everybody wants. But everything we learn is certainly helpful. And also, I've lived in a number of different states, and I think learning culture from different people like that is certainly helpful too.
Thanks.
Good afternoon. What do you expect this advisory board to give to the community, and how can you help the work of this advisory board?
I think from the board, the biggest thing I would ask that they give to the community is hope. And next time, opportunity. I think people get so beat down with all the things that have happened to them and the things they miss out on because they don't have the right references, so to speak, whether it's an income situation or not suitable for a job, whatever it is. I think that the board can really offer those people a lot of hope and down the road opportunity. I think one thing that I think about a lot is we have to understand if the project who is it really helping? What is the vision for that particular project? Is it to help unhoused people, low-income people? Is it to help the whole neighborhood? I did read about the third site a little bit, and that's something I'm kind of in the dark about, but that certainly sounds like a community project rather than just for individuals. Also, I think once the project is firmed up a little bit, you have to wonder, is it right for that specific place? How is it going to impact the neighborhood? Is it going to improve it or give people in that neighborhood more security? And that's, I think, one of the most critical things is that it be placed in the appropriate neighborhood. One thing also is, one thing I noticed about the marketplace homes is that they continue to be maintained so well. Anytime you go to the farmer's market, it's just very pleasing to see how well everybody is taking care of their home. And I think that's something that has to be part of every project, that it's not just turned over and forgotten about, but that it's taken care of for the future.
Good evening, Tammy Ray, I represent District 1. My question is, what are 3 things that a member of this advisory board should consider?
I'm sorry?
3 things that a member of this board should consider.
I think bringing in different perspectives is certainly very important. And I'm sure that each person here has different background. And that's really what enables us to kind of brainstorm and come together and agree on something. Also, I think it's important that people have a vision to look at something, whether it's an empty lot or a neighborhood. I know when I drive down Portage Street and I see the whole area there where Hookster's Hardware used to be, and I can just envision blocks and blocks of affordable housing there. It's just calling out to be something better. So, and I think also we need to be aware, I guess, of the times. Is the new administration going to have a big impact on projects? Where the money is coming from? Has that dried up, or can there be a new source available?
Hi, I'm Abigail Wheeler. I represent District 4. And my question for you is what is the greatest strength you will bring to this advisory board?
Well, I think I keep kind of mentioning those over and over, but I am an accountant. I've been an accountant, financial analyst, plant controller for my whole career. I like numbers. I think they tell the story. And then otherwise, I've kind of acted as a project manager for all the things I've done, and it requires a lot of organizational skills. So I think even though that's something very basic, it's critical. And I think my dealings with the unhoused is always in the back of my mind, because you see such terrible things happening to people when they have to live outside. I know there's recently been a death, and a lady that we've seen today had frostbitten toes. So, you know, they're at risk. There's no question about it. So that's always in the back of my mind.
Hello there, Commissioner Morales, District 3. Are you available for the meeting times and dates?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jeff Hepler, District 7. I have the hardest question here is, do you have any questions for us?
Yes, I do. what exactly is the board's responsibility? I know there's a staff that handles the projects and so on. So what is the board doing?
Our goal of the land bank is it's created by state statute. It started in Genesee County, Kalamazoo, I think was the second one to do it. But the goal is to get tax foreclosed on properties that continually go through the tax cycle to be put that nobody really wants, to put it back onto the tax rolls. And we were originally doing that by selling the properties. There was a case, a Raffaele case, just not to get too much into the weeds, that limited the income ability for land banks to, I think the previous applicant had said, to kind of make their money back on the properties they were getting. We currently have a wonderful executive director who you heard from earlier that is very innovative in looking at new ways. And there's new legislation that allows the land bank to play more of an economic development role, as well as a role to get properties back on to the tax rolls, create affordable housing for the citizens. So there's a lot of things that they do now, and it's continually adapting based on a lot of the state statutes and judicial cases. But it's an incredible opportunity for not just for housing, but also for economic development within the community. So they have a lot of hats that they wear on, and they partner really well with a lot of organizations within our community. If that kind of helps, I know that's kind of
Yes, it
something.
does. Thank you. Could somebody tell me more about this third space? It's very intriguing. No. Is it a mystery?
So, Ms. Ogren, I don't think we can address the question right
Okay.
now, so
Okay, that's
I
fine.
apologize, but what we will do is seek information and share.
Okay, that's great.
Okay. Thank you so much.
The only other question I had was, how do you identify a property that you're going to work on?
I think I'll take my stab at that. I mean, part of that effort, at that board level is really helping the organization to vision and see sort of the direction that we want to take to provide them a really dynamic support. They're really looking for board members to be actively engaged and involved and really be there to advise the direction of the land bank. Because as Vice Chair has mentioned, there are many more tools available now, and it's a very powerful component within our housing ecosystem to make change over time. And so I think, that's what I would encourage you as somebody considering surveying, that really having that strategic sort of visioning and getting in and really providing that sort of dynamic dialogue. Certainly the excellent leadership of the organization will be there to help steward you guys forward, but they want your commitment and involvement to move it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So with that, appreciate you taking time with us this afternoon.
Thank you
again.
for letting me come in.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Clerk. I appreciate that assistance. All right, we have a third candidate. I don't see, they're noted as confirmed as Sarah May Harris with us, or is she joining online, Dina?
She is not online, Chair.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. All right, so we've conducted the interviews of Ms. Zoltan and Ms. Ogren. I would like to bring the board's attention to communication that we received from Treasurer Whitener. Administrative staff just inquired about any specific needs needed in the candidate, and he elevated looking for somebody with a background in housing, in finance or accounting, and that education or work experience in those regards would be preferred. Open that up to any further discussion. Commissioner DeLue.
Well, especially based on what I just heard, and based on the interviews and the resumes, I would strongly, or my choice of the two is Ms. Holgren to represent, to be on the land bank.
Is that a motion?
I make a motion to appoint Barbara Holgren to the Land Bank Authority.
Motion made by Commissioner DeLue, supported by Commissioner Morales. Is there any further discussion? Vice Chair.
Yeah, I think we had two excellent candidates, and I know a lot of the time that we're struggling I'd be willing to go along with that motion and vote for that motion. But the first applicant, Christine Zoltan, I think we should keep her on the back burner. And when there is a opening, to make sure that she applies again, because I was impressed by her interview as well.
Ms. Barb came up and I think she gave us a breath of fresh air. Thank you for being my constituent and looking at what's needed to be done in the area of Millwood. But I think when she talked about being a visionary and looking at a piece of space that can be rehabbed and turning ugly ducklings into swans, I could really appreciate that. So thank you.
All right, seeing no further discussion. So all those in favor of the appointment for Ms. Ogren to the Land Bank Authority signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, congratulations to Ms. Ogren, and staff will follow up. Okay, let me negotiate myself back to our agenda. Okay. Yes, we will move forward. Review of accounts payable, payroll disbursements from Finance Director Post.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair Pro Tem, Board of Commissioners. I apologize here. I'm getting set up. All right. We have an accounts payable claim list totaling $3,413,681.34 is presented for review. Of this total, the Board of Commissioners asked to approve claims totaling $3,046,821.81. Payroll disbursements totaling $4,125,416.63 are presented for the February 14th elected and general payrolls.
Do we have any questions from the commission? Well, that's easy then, isn't it? Thank you, Director Post. Your work is appreciated. All right, we'll move to our item number 5, our monthly investment report from Chief and Deputy Treasurer Tyler White. Welcome, Tyler.
Thank you, Chair. All right, so for the county's investment portfolio as of January 31st, we had a par value balance of $166,688,999.15 with a market value of $165,308,755.84. There's a mark-to-market variance between our par and market values of $1,380,243.31. Note that is an improvement over December of $29,956.20. So a slight increase in our market values. As a reminder, just like every other month, our mark-to-market variance only impacts our bottom line if we were to liquidate our portfolio, and our strategy is to hold assets until maturity, so that way we avoid any realized losses. For the month and the year, to date, our portfolio has earned $613,943.39 on an average daily balance of $166,557,333.92. This is for an effective rate of return on the county's investments of 4.34%. It's inclusive of all realized gains and losses on sales and maturities, as well as amortization of investment premiums and discounts. Of the $613,943 that we've earned, $397,255.12 relates to the general fund and budget stabilization investment pools. I would not use this as our basis for projecting the rest of the year, but if the rest of the year follows a similar track as January, we'll be on track to earn $7.3 million for 2025. For our monthly inflation update, over the last 12 months, it was 3%, up from 2.9% 12-month inflation in December, according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. Our 4.34% rate of return is higher than inflation. We experienced a 1.34% net gain in purchasing power during January. And January's 12-month inflation was spread across the following categories: food up 2.5%, energy commodities or fuel down 0.5%, energy services for utilities up 2.5%, of which electricity went up 1.9%, gas went up 4.9%, shelters up 4.4%, transportation services up 8%, medical services up 2.7%, and other commodities, so vehicles, apparel, medical commodities, down 0.1%. I'd be happy to take any questions that y'all might have.
Seeing none. Thank you so much, Deputy Treasurer.
Appreciate it. Thanks, y'all.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll move on now to other items. So first we have the discussion on investment options for the opioid settlement funds. Now welcome forward Treasurer Thomas Whitener.
Getting all the accountants and treasurers today. Thank you for the opportunity. I hope you're having a good evening. The opioid settlement funds that the county has received had up to this point been included in our investment activities as general fund dollars. With a review of those funds and how they needed to be separated out, we have determined an accounting for you, which I believe has been shared with members of the board, showing the distributions that we've received, the way that they were invested, which was with Michigan Class to keep our liquidity high, and how those funds were able to produce interest. Before you tonight is asking for your blessing to separate out those funds from our general fund pooled funds and reinvest the interest not into general fund pooled, but back into the opioid funds so that those dollars that are earned on those funds can go into helping members of our community that have been affected negatively by this opioid crisis. While the treasurer is responsible for the investment of these funds, and I'm happy to do it, and we've been pretty successful in it, I do need your blessing to go ahead and reinvest those interest dividends back into that fund specifically and have them assigned as such. So that is what I'm here asking for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Treasurer. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I originally had some discrepancies with the numbers. I sat down with your deputy, Tyler, and came to it was a difference of about $20-some thousand. And I have absolutely no problem taking a more aggressive assumptions with those investment dollars and pooled cash for this cause.
Okay.
My question has to do, and so I completely support separating this and returning the opioid task force dollars, or not opioid task force, opioid dollars to its intended purpose so that the interest earned on that will go back into programs instead of back into our general fund. That being said, do we have any policies or procedures in place that if this happens again, or if there's any sort of different fund over a certain dollar amount threshold, then that would be invested separately, or is it all just kind of go into the general fund?
There are several funds that are invested separately. The general fund is invested as a block. It allows us to get better rates when we make large investments. I'm going to get a better rate on $1 million CD than I am on a $100,000 CD. That makes sense. So when we're looking at investing, I'd like to keep the general fund as together as possible, except in special cases like this, like in the roads, dollars, or when it's for an outside authority. I believe that currently, I'm not off the top of my head aware of a policy that would allow us to set a dollar threshold. Certainly a policy could be written, and I'd be happy to work with you if there's interest in that. But for right now, no, I do not believe a policy like that exists.
All right, thank you. And then I think going forward, we know the liquidity problem, about $900,000 a year per our last. So with the dollars in there, we can have a pretty good idea of
sure
that they could probably go into more aggressive CDs and that sort of stuff as we
Yeah.
get hitting that 900,000. Because I would really like to see the interest of these dollars take up a large portion of the general operating in that, so it can maintain stability for a longer period of time.
Absolutely. And I would agree with that. Having a known budget allows me to more effectively invest these funds. Right now, they're all effectively liquid because I didn't know when we were going to spend them. And if y'all found a $5 million project that needed to be done tomorrow, I can do that. It's much better, it's much more effective for earning interest on these funds. If we have a set budget, we can take the remainder and then ladder that out further into the future to recognize a little bit higher gains on those. So thank you very much.
And thank you, Treasurer. And I want to, thank the work of the opioid settlement fund task force and this board for the support of that endeavor as we identified the budget and then this opportunity to collaborate with the treasurer's office so that we can maximize the resources, because we all know, it took a long time to come to the opioid crisis. It will not be solved in short order, especially as we're looking at turbulent and unknown times ahead that tends to exacerbate social issues within the community. And so here, we've had the opportunity to take the time to be strategic, to develop a budget, and then to work out how we maximize the resources so that we can perpetuate the support and the approaches as long as we can. So thank you. Anything else from commissioners? All right, thank you so much, Treasurer.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, next we'll move to unhoused sheltering financial commitment discussion. It's going to lead. Are you taking that, Administrator, or? Thank you so much. Yes.
All right, Chair, Vice Chair Pro Tem, Commissioners. So there's been considerable discussion regarding support for the unhoused in our community, as you know. So I've been asked to connect with the City of Kalamazoo regarding the Kalamazoo Together for the Unhoused initiative, which manages the Heads and Beds program. This program utilizes a local hotel to provide safe and secure accommodations for unhoused individuals during extreme weather events. The City of Kalamazoo has recently partnered with the Continuum of Care to enhance this grassroots initiative due to the regulatory constraints of how dollars can be awarded out to local entities. The city has designated the United Way as the fiduciary entity, as government funding, again, can't be used to allocate directly to grassroots efforts. So the total operational cost for this Heads and Beds program is approximately $37,000. The city has historically committed $22,000 to the initiatives, with the COC awarding $15,000 from their mini grants programs. So the county can participate in this endeavor, leveraging two funding sources. One is our Strategic Issues Fund, and then we also have general fund contingencies. The general fund contingencies account has $48,200 remaining for 2025. The strategic issues fund has $92,300 remaining, recognizing that a large portion of those dollars in strategic issues are geared towards strategic planning, management, training, and professional development, although dollars can again shift around at the desire of the board. So following this discussion that will ensue, staff will just require direction on drafting a funding agreement between the county and United Way that we can hope to have ready for presentation at the March 4th meeting. That's all I have at this point, but I can answer questions if any arise.
Thank you, Administrator. Commissioners? Commissioner Ray.
So is the ask 37,000?
My understanding is that the request would be 22,000 in anticipation that the COC could award the additional 15,000 from their mini grants program.
Okay. And so the 22,000 or the 37,000 for the project covers how many nights in a hotel and for how many individuals?
That's a great question, Commissioner Ray, and that part is a little unclear, but I believe it's around 7 days, so up to a week.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I guess I got one more question. So the COC recently awarded them a mini grant for this project. Will they do it multiple times? Do we need to look at other support or can they rely on that again?
Yes, that is a great question, Commissioner Ray. My understanding is that based on the COC information I received today during a presentation, they have awarded 3 hoteling intervention mini grants to that group. That's my understanding. And then 2 were in conjunction with the city of Kalamazoo, so in partnership with them. So it sounds like there's funding out there to continue to support it. Obviously, probably up to some sort of a threshold, but we can contact Director Griffin to obtain more specific concrete information on that.
Vice Chair?
Yeah, Commissioner Ray got my mind going here, and I guess if 37,000 at 7 nights, if you're doing about $150 a night on average, you're at 35. Maybe you can get a better deal than that if you're getting bulk rooms, but it's about 35 rooms if they're doing it right. 35 rooms a night for seven nights is what I'm assuming. I guess I have no problem, especially, I mean, it's cold out there, and I don't see any other sort of group that's doing this. And I've been on email chains with the woman that is putting a lot of this on, and there's a need there. So this is sort of a super short term kind of let's get us through the winter type situation. But I've got no problem. I would sort of suggest that it comes out of contingency as we go on through the budget cycle. We're going to identify a lot of different shortfalls. In January, it's far too early, but I would recommend contingency for the use of this, and I'm in support.
Commissioner Morales.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm in support of this. And I know we have some transitional housing coming, but I mean, that's 77K. Are we thinking of rehabbing a home? Like one of our big houses in District 1? Are there conversations about that where we can put some folks in there for 7 days and run it like a bed and breakfast? It's a lot of money where I feel like 77,000, we can buy 2 houses with that and rehab it and have people transition out based on their need. I might be stretching it a little bit, and I know it's helping the economy and our hoteling tax and things like that, but as we move forward, is there better ways, or are they suggesting better ways that we can invest 77,000 for 35 rooms?
Yeah, that's a great question, Commissioner Morales. So, the COC is really the organization that is developing and creating that strategic plan in consultation with a lot of the units of local government. Just for clarification, so I received information that the project that Kalamazoo Together for the Unhoused ran last week. So for the 7-day period, they housed 124 individuals.
Mhm.
So 124 individuals for 7 days. So they do house a significant population. And so looking at some building that the county could, help, buy or help coordinate and partnership with the COC or other organizations, that has not been contemplated at this time. But it is something that we can, touch base with Judy on and our other government partners.
Good. And thank you, Administrator, for being able to elevate up, the census that they were able to bring out of the cold. It's very important while we have the dialogue around how we approach, the unhoused crisis that continues in the community, that we're financially responsible, that we try to maximize the approaches to have the biggest impact. But it continues. I mean, all of us here, I think, well understand that this community has yet to really develop a solid long-term strategy to address the chronic issues of living unhoused in the community. And what we're relying on here, and thank God for them, is a group of volunteers, some with disabilities who are elderly and often living in the margins or in poverty, or who have suffered from being housing insecure themselves, to pull this together rather than the community having a unified response. And so I want all of us to continue to bear that in mind when we have the discussion around this. The last couple weeks when Judy Lowry and her team launched this last effort, my daughter and I were able to talk to a man out on the street corner panhandling. It was 15 below zero. We were able to connect them with this team. He got on the bus and got in housing that night. And this was a gentleman, afraid to be at the shelter because he had been attacked when he had been there in the past. So there's people, out suffering. And we heard from our land bank applicant earlier, people are facing physical injury from exposure. And so this is money well spent for us, and a challenge for us to come up with that long-term approach. And I know we've all talked through some ideas about long-term, how we would like to see that develop. And one important step in that process is our family transitional housing development that we're moving forward. I just wanted to make sure I elevated for the community, who is really lifting up this effort. They're getting some financial support from local government, but this is a grassroots effort by people who are responding in a very selfless way. And I am deeply grateful to them for that leadership. And I hope it inspires us and our other local units to provide the leadership that's needed as well. Okay. All right. Is there anything else from the commission? Yeah, Vice Chair, go ahead.
I just ran, you talked about efficient. This is an extremely efficient way to get people. It's $42.63 per person per night to get them out of the cold. We're going to be spending more than that at 124 people at 37,000. We'd spend more than that in emergency services and hospitals and in our jails. This is actually a really good return on investment. I would make a motion that we allocate $22,000 from contingency to be used in the Heads and Beds program via the United Way.
Motion made by Vice Chair Taylor, supported by Commissioner Morales. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Ray, I keep trying to call you Chair Ray, so I gotta stumble over it every
That's
time.
okay.
Commissioner
Just
Ray.
one question. Is there a fee to the United Way?
That I don't know. I'm sure there is, though. They usually do have an admin fee, and it's probably 10%. That's usually how that works. But I mean, keep in mind, we can't award directly to a grassroots. If they were a nonprofit, we could give it to a nonprofit. So that's the closest that we have, and that's the one that the city's worked with.
Yeah, I'm not saying we shouldn't. I'm just wondering if we need to add the fee so it doesn't come out of the 22,000.
Chair, Commissioner, so what I can do is, in the meantime, because we'll bring the actual funding agreement back to the board on March 4th. I'll have all that squared away and presented.
And thank you for elevating that. Any further questions or discussion?
Real quick.
Yeah, Vice Chair Pro Tem.
Thank you, Chair. Is this going to be able to help these folks tonight, tomorrow, the next day, as we are reaching record cold temperatures? We've actually had a winter for the first time in 5-6 years, and I'm just asking.
They do have people in shelter in the hotel right now. So, yeah. Thank you. So Vice Chair elevating runs out February the 21st with additional funding, hopefully committed, and there's a way for them to hopefully not have a gap in the days covered. Mhm. All right, all those in favor of the allocation of 22,000 for Heads and Beds from contingency signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Before I move forward, I should have lifted up in my initial comments. Members of the community who are interested in helping supporting the work, I believe most of the contact information can be found on social media, on Facebook. You can identify them by searching Kalamazoo Together for the Unhoused. There's a list of additional items in which they need donated for the care and feeding of individuals that are participating in the program, including food, snacks, paper goods, personal care materials. So rather than reading that list out, I encourage the community to seek out that information on Facebook, and you can message them directly and connect to them to donate and to support them. All right, thank you. Okay, I'm going to move next to the MAC Legislative Conference discussion. Administrator?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So, Vice Chair Pro Tem Commissioners, this evening, we're just asking for feedback and soliciting interest on those that would wish to attend the MAC Legislative Conference in April in Lansing. So if you're interested, we'd like to know by the end of the week because hotels fill up rather quickly, especially in Lansing. So if you are interested, we already have Vice Chair Taylor's interest, but if you are interested, anyone else, just let us know by the end of the week, and then we'll get hotel accommodations set up. So Carol and Allie will work on those for you. So I now have Vice Chair Taylor and Commissioner Ray. So, but again, by Friday, just let us know and we're happy to assist those accommodations. Thank you.
Thank you, Administrator. All right, next we're going to move to discussion on indoor youth sports facility with a presentation from Ms. Jane Ghosh from Discover Kalamazoo. Welcome, Jane.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for making time for me on your busy agenda this afternoon. I'm here to discuss the project that we have been talking about for about the last year and a half, and with this very significant help of County Corporate Counsel Lewis and Administrator Catlin and Thomas Whitener, the treasurer, as well as clerk with Meredith. We are really coming together, and we believe that we are close to being able to put this plan into execution. In 2 weeks at your meeting, we'll be bringing forward draft wording of a referendum ordinance for the financing for the project. And so before that meeting, at Vice Chair Taylor's suggestion, we wanted to come and share with you the meat of the project to make sure if you had any questions, we could address them over the next 2 weeks. So I believe I have about 10 minutes. So I'll go through the content fairly quickly, but then I'm available for any questions that you might have. So Dina, if you could please go to the next slide. It's been, as I'm often at the meetings and listening in on the meetings and hearing to your conversations, a lot of what you need to do is be reactive to social problems within our community. And that is obviously, extremely important work, and not just, the county board, but as Chair was talking about, volunteers within the community. I believe that this is a project that can help be proactive about setting people up on great paths. There's much data about the benefit of youth sports to youth well-being, not just in the present while they're playing the sports, but for their lives. Of course, we're all familiar with the physical benefits, but there are mental health benefits of participation in youth sports. There are cognitive health benefits, performance in school, and we know that youth participation in sports leads to lifelong participation, which can then have benefits. Knowing that and knowing the opportunity and where we are uniquely located in a population center of about 20 million, we commissioned Convention Sports and Leisure, the experts nationally in this area, to do a study to tell us what opportunities are there for our market, specifically in youth sports. And they believe that the best opportunity we have in our market, where there's both local need, and you can't see it on the chart because of the typing on the bottom there. Thank you, Dina. Both for local need is unmet, and tournament, sports tourism need is unmet for an indoor hard court facility with primary uses being basketball and volleyball. If you could go to the next slide. Not only, and we know from the user groups, volleyball, basketball, many people that we've talked to, that there's a need for more court time in our community. And we also know that there is no state-of-the-art tournament facility in West Michigan. This is it's a time-sensitive opportunity. There's nothing now. If we delay, then we might not have the opportunity to do this within our market. And because of the way this is designed in the financing, it is the tournament use that then helps create the opportunity for local youth. And if there's another place nearby that can fulfill those tournament needs, then we won't be able to subsidize local use by bringing in the outside tournaments. If you could go to the next slide. We do very well with sports tourism. Coming up, actually this weekend, we are hosting the Michigan State High School Athletic Association State Wrestling Team Finals. So we're gonna be a bunch of people coming into our town for the state championships in wrestling. Our top three sports, hockey, figure skating, and wrestling, represent about 50% of the hotel room nights that come from people coming in here to do tournaments. We get almost no hotel room nights from volleyball and basketball because we don't have the facilities to host them. Way more kids play basketball and volleyball than those top three sports of hockey, figure skating, and wrestling. And especially way more people of color play those sports. And actually, you can see on the next slide, and this is something I haven't shown you before, on the far left, that's US participation in ice hockey. And you can see in the green are the numbers of participants, and the bar chart is about participation by income level. So essentially what this tells you is hockey is a rich kid's sport. Not a lot of people play it. And part of that is because it's very expensive for kids to participate in hockey. On the right are overall participation levels and by income level for basketball and volleyball. And as you can see with this facility, it will enable us to reach a much, much broader participation of youth. More kids play these sports and a broader segment of the population play these sports. This is the facility we propose, which there's 4 across the top, 4 basketball courts, and then a second level of 4 basketball courts for 8 basketball courts in total, or vertically can be used for volleyball courts. There's also a shortage of indoor turf in the facility. So as long as we're in the county, so as long as we're doing this, we believe it could behoove us to add indoor turf, but the primary goal is to get that hard court space. The data from Convention Sports and Leisure tells us that this facility will break even just from operating revenue versus operating expenses starting in year 2, with being significantly profitable. We're not suggesting that we fund the construction of this based on the operating revenue. You'll see in a minute our financing recommendation. And just to reiterate, it's local benefit, really subsidized by the visitor economy. So it's primarily local use Monday through Thursday, and then bringing in those sports tournaments on the weekends, projected to produce more than 600 full and part-time jobs. And from a hotel standpoint, 36,000 new hotel room nights annually. And again, we believe this is a unique and time-sensitive opportunity to gain a competitive advantage. On those 36,000 room nights, CSL, we asked CSL at the request of one of our hoteliers to project for us what months we believe we will get those hotel room nights. So in green right now is the average for 22, 23, and 24, the last 3 years by month of the hotel room night demand in Kalamazoo County. And then in black is those incremental 36,000 room nights. And as you can see, the primary months that they come are the months that the hotels need those rooms filled the most. So what we would consider the shoulder season. So February, March, April, coming back October, November. So the time of greatest need. And in the next slide, you can see what that does to hotel occupancy. So occupancy rate is how many rooms are sold versus those available. And it adds about 4 points of occupancy to those months of greatest need. And this is important for the hoteliers because they're trying to sustain their business year round with it. Although we're not as seasonal as some communities in Michigan, we do have a fairly seasonal business here. So that's of great interest to them. So from financing, we propose using the Regional Event Center Financing Act. If you could go to the next page, which was proposed for the downtown event center, but has never been used. And in fact, this has never been used in Michigan. It would be an incremental 4% accommodations assessment. When I was here in December, I called it a tax. I was incorrect. It's an assessment. And it would only apply to hotels with 35 or more rooms. And the decision, ultimately, you would vote to hold a referendum, And then the hotel owners would need to essentially ratify that vote. It's one room per vote. Basically, the property owners would get a ballot. It would be the county clerk that administers the election. A physical ballot would be mailed to the address on property taxes. 60% of rooms need to participate in the vote in order for there to be a quorum. And then of those rooms vote, a simple majority would mean it would pass. And because this is an assessment, the potential uses for this revenue are really dictated by the Event Center Financing Act, and this facility is one of those potential uses. We have a great deal of support from hotels. I just heard from my team that based on a meeting today, we have another hotel ownership supporting. The hotels see the benefit in this. They recognize the benefit that they get. They already are seeing the benefit from the sports tourism that we bring in. From a governance standpoint, and this is one question that I've had, what does the authority look like and how are members appointed to the authority? We recommend that we use the Municipal Partnerships Act. It is possible, when I was here in December, I talked about maybe we were looking at using a recreation authority. Upon further examination, especially with the help of corporate counsel, we no longer believe that's the appropriate authority. Therefore, the Municipal Partnerships Act is the authority that we would use. And we recommend that the board of directors would be appointed, one board member would be appointed directly by you. Another would be appointed directly by the municipality where the facility is located. And because this is an assessment that requires the benefit primarily to go to the hoteliers, and Discover Kalamazoo as a Convention and Visitors Bureau essentially operates as, an owner's representative organization, we would then recommend the additional board members for approval or rejection by you as a board. So we would recommend candidates. You would either approve or disapprove that slate. If you disapproved any candidates, we would come back with alternate candidates. 2 of the board members would have to be representatives of the hotels. This is our timeline. I'm coming to today, right now, depending upon your questions. We would look at coming to you back in 2 weeks for a first reading of the ordinance, followed by a publication, and then a second reading of the ordinance on April 1st, followed by ideally in your regular business meeting, a vote to hold the referendum. Then that vote would be via certified mail. As I said, the clerk's office is currently working with us and giving us feedback on how best to conduct that election. If assuming that it takes 30 days, then we would tabulate those votes, have it reviewed by the Board of Canvassers, and then provide notice to the hotels. Based on the Event Center Financing Act, the hotels need to be notified of the result. Then they have 30 days of notice period before implementation on the first day of the following month, which in this scenario would be July 1st. Just a few frequently asked questions. One is, and I'll go over this quickly, but we can always go back. We would remain a very affordable market. So it was interesting, hearing the discussion about the rate that is being paid. We actually have a fairly low ADR as average daily rate here in Kalamazoo County. We also currently have a relatively low tax rate. So even with the addition of this 4% assessment, we'll be right in the ballpark of what we consider our competitive markets, and our total cost to the customer would still be very, very affordable. Another question we get is, why do we need this if we have the event center? There are very different primary purposes. The event center is going to be a very busy place. It's going to have 4 anchor tenants with K-Wings and then 3 Western athletic teams. They're going to have practices and games there. It's primarily, a performance space and practice space. This facility will be designed for local use Monday through Thursday, and then tournaments. And we need to host a tournament. We need at least 8 basketball courts under one roof. And for example, at the event center, there's only going to be 2 practice basketball courts, and they're going to be highly utilized by Western. And then lastly, we've gotten a question about how are we funding this? Which act is it? And is it just an increase of our current accommodations tax? It is not. Our current Kalamazoo County accommodations tax is organized under Public Act 263. It applies to all lodging within the county at a 4% rate. If we wanted to change that, it would have to go to a public ballot. We are proposing using the Regional Event Center Financing Assessment, which is Public Act 340 of 2020. It only applies to larger properties. The decision to impose it has to be approved by the hoteliers. That's the key difference. And then because of that, it must provide a direct benefit to those hoteliers that agree to impose the assessment. So in summary, this will definitely, well, we believe, and we believe the hotels will agree, it will provide a direct benefit to the hotels by adding occupancy in their months of greatest need. It will also add, and this is my last slide, if you could go to the next slide, Dina, it will also add a significant benefit to our community because it will enable us to serve a significant portion of youth who cannot be served today. Any questions for me or comments?
Vice Chair Pro Tem.
Thank you, Chair. Do you have a location that you're anticipating locating this facility at? And I was trying to go through all of the information here. It's a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. We have considered more than 30 locations across the county. We narrowed it down to 9 and hired experts, including CSL, to score each of those sites on the criteria that will make them most suitable. We now have narrowed that down to 3 viable locations and have gotten proposals from each of them. And assuming this goes forward, then we'll further those discussions with the authority to choose the final location. But the great news is we have 3 locations that are absolutely viable for this facility.
There. Commissioner Ray.
Thank you, Jane, for the presentation. I guess my only question would be, when you consider the board of directors, have you thought about including a young person to the board as we're talking about youth sports?
I love that idea. No, and what we should, that's a brilliant idea. Thank you for that. We had thought we need to have user groups represented. We hadn't thought of a participant. That's such a good idea. Thank you.
Commissioner Morales.
So, I'm in support, hoping to even have a space on that board to have some input. Thank you for that, because I was like, we still doing things without having the youth's input. I guess it would narrow down to what age you would think is appropriate, or the board would think is appropriate. Is this a teenager? I know we talked about, some folks that you had in mind as we move forward. So excited about the project. You answered most of my questions regarding, I know you have some things lined up waiting, and I can't wait to see where it's going to be. Number one, I'm glad to see that the hotels are on board, more importantly, to generate some more revenue coming back to us. And then the importance of sports, as we have an event center coming, but to be able to have something Monday through Thursday where we aren't crammed at, what's out on Sprinkle?
Courthouse.
The courthouse, or the Salvation Army, where there's one court, you can't sit, there's no room, there's no parking. We're using churches locally that are packed to capacity. So to have a place like this and for it to be affordable, where we can bring, some more of that competitiveness here, as opposed to going to other places, Detroit, Muskegon, and they're saying, hey, y'all need some fundamental work to play outside of your district. So I'm happy to see that new talent coming in and to get scouts here so that our youngins have some space to go to different universities to continue on later. So thank you for your presentation.
Vice Chair.
Thank you very much. This is, in my, looking through this, I think this is a win-win. We're all too often when we're looking for new revenue sources to do stuff, we look at regressive sort of taxes, and that's usually what happens. This is not, I won't use the word tax, but this is a very progressive assessment in that people that are going to be paying this are going to be people that can afford to pay $250, $200 for a hotel room. And they're paying 4% on that. And what we're doing with that money is we're providing opportunities for kids in our community, and as well as helping the hotels out by selling out their rooms on Friday and Saturday nights so that they can go to these tournaments. I'm in support. Thank you.
So I'm just going to elevate a couple of concerns. Thank you. I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
No, I just wanted to say I'm really excited about this because with 6 kids, 4 of those kids did travel sports. So I've been all over the state doing these things. It would be wonderful to have that in Kalamazoo. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. So Elevate, the concept in general is very exciting. And I think the potential economic benefits and the social benefits all are there. The concerns that I have are just around the structure of financing. Maybe it's just principally, I'm not a strong supporter of the Event Center Financing Act. I just have concerns about its sort of dismissal of the concept of a one person and one vote. And what we're doing here is really assigning a large vote weight to particular individuals that own large property. And I think it's just, it's not my preference of precedent to set for how we address financing of whatever projects, no matter what the merits they may have. In that regard, looks like 60% is roughly 2,100, a bit more of the total rooms. I'd like to have some information about the size of each of the hotels. I'd like to understand what the size of the minority that might vote for that financing option, what it would look like. Is it simply 4 hoteliers that would then have the authority, or how many would it look like?
Oh,
Does it make sense what my question is?
Let me just confirm that I understand it. So there's 36 properties in total that get you to the current number of rooms is 3,500, about 3,500. And to your point, 60% is a little about 2,100. So I'm happy to provide for those 36 hotels that would currently be eligible, how many rooms each hotel has. The largest hotel in Kalamazoo County has 340 rooms. The second largest has 180 rooms. And then the rest, broadly speaking, are around 100, between 60 and 100 rooms. So just so you know, so the 2 biggest hotels, which would be the Radisson and the Delta, they don't get you much more past 25% of a quorum. So we do need the participation of many of the hotels in the county in order for it to pass.
Good, and thank you for that clarification. The one other thing, just to elevate as well, is that not all travel is leisure travel. So we do have certainly, the smaller hotels, longer stay. Those are often one of the last housing options for people in deep poverty. But there are also people that seek shelter in a hotel during emergencies, during crisis. And long-term, our community is likely to be the brunt of a wave of climate refugees, if you understand the impacts. So not that that's necessarily a barrier for me, but I just want to elevate it. It's not just leisure travelers who seek accommodation, even in our larger hotels. But looking at the breakdown of what our costs are for accommodation in our market, I mean, it remains then comparable to other markets, but I just wanted to elevate that.
Yeah, I think the writers of the act were endeavoring to exclude situations where it'd be asking people where they're using motels for housing as last resort by excluding places with fewer than 35 rooms and excluding stays longer than 30 nights. Like that I think was the writer's attempt to exclude that. It's not perfect. Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Morales.
I think she answered my question. So I was gonna ask if they have that shortage of room right now, and we're already tight on a budget filling, 124 folks? I mean, is that really of high concern that we would not have rooms? I mean, hotels sell out all the time, regardless of the situations, right? So I don't know if that would have a huge impact. Like are the unhoused staying at the Radisson? Are the unhoused staying at, Hilton or things like that? So
I'll just clarify for Commissioner. No, I don't think so. And but that there are times, for example, I ran a long-term care facility for individuals, and you could have a weather emergency or a crisis, and you need to evacuate out of a location, and then you do have to go. Probably not the Radisson. You're looking for your cheapest option among the hotels, but they would be assessed this assessment in those sorts of circumstances. And the likelihood that those people in emergency situations seeking shelter, over the next 10 years, we're talking about, could increase really dramatically. This is what the point I'm driving to.
The good news, if it is, if it is good news, many times those kind of climate emergencies can take place during the winter months when generally Kalamazoo County hotels are at lower occupancy. And I didn't put any data in there. Generally, the rates, largely speaking, correspond like it's lower nightly rates at months of lower occupancy, which again is during those winter months.
All right, any other questions? All right, Ms. Ghosh, thank you so much for your time and the
Thank you
dialogue.
for making time for me on short notice. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. See, do we have any closed session? Okay. All right, I think that brings us to the end of our agenda for this evening. If nothing else for the good of the order, we are adjourned. All right, good evening. I'm going to call to order the Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners for our February 18th regular business meeting. Item number 1 is our indication or reflection, and I have that for Commissioner Gisler.
Thank you. Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, as we gather today to make decisions for our community, bless us that we may use our best skills and judgment. Guide us as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that comes before us. Grant us the wisdom to act in the best interests of our community and fellow citizens. Help us show respect for each other and our entire community. Please grant us the wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times. Also, Lord, please watch over our recently departed colleague, John Zull, who served many years as a county commissioner. John was in every way a first-class public servant and an altogether fine man. Finally, watch over the women and men who keep us safe at home and abroad. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, commissioners and community. Move to item 3. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner DeLu, Commissioner Gisler,
Here.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler,
Here.
Commissioner Mazer,
Here.
Commissioner Morales,
Present.
Commissioner Ray,
Present.
Chair Strebs,
Here.
Vice Chair Taylor,
Here.
Commissioner Wheeler. Here. 9 present.
Thank you, clerk. We'll move to item 4, proclamations. First, I'd entertain a motion for the proclamation proclaiming February as Insurance Agents and Risk Advisors Month. Vice Chair Pro Tem.
Thank you, Chair. Reading the proclamation, February as Insurance Agent Risk Advisory Month. Whereas insurance agents and risk advisors are critical part of our insurance industry, providing protection and peace of mind to individuals of all ages, families, and all backgrounds, and businesses at all kinds. Whereas through the use of purchasing insurance through insurance agents and risk advisors, individuals, families, businesses are able to protect themselves from unexpected and operational norm by feeling safer than before being insured. Whereas through the use of hiring an insurance agent or risk advisor, individual families and businesses are able to help select the right insurance policy by understanding their situation, evaluating their risk or exposure by recommending policies of adequate protection. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim February as Insurance and Risk Advisor Month in Kalamazoo County, Michigan, and commend the observations to all of our residents.
Motion made by Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler, support by Commissioner Wheeler. Sorry, my brain for a second.
Mine too.
Any further discussion? Clerk, would you please call roll?
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler,
Yes.
Commissioner Mazer,
Yes.
Commissioner Morales,
Yes.
Commissioner Ray,
Yes.
Chair Strebs,
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler,
Yes.
Commissioner DeLu,
Yeah.
Commissioner Gisler.
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you, clerk. That motion carries. Congratulations. Excellent. Thank you, Vice Chair, and congratulations, gentlemen. We'll move next to the proclamation recognizing the contributions and legacy of Mr. Albert White. Commissioner Morales.
Thank you, Chair. Whereas Albert White served the Kalamazoo community for over 5 decades from the 1870s until 1930, using his gifts and skills to contribute a lasting legacy of buildings, many of which still stand and serve the community today. Whereas Albert White, an African-American man, was born in Canton, Indiana on February 6, 1861, 2 years before slavery ended. White's father was killed by Confederate soldiers, leaving his wife, son, and 4 daughters to grieve his death. Whereas Albert White began working on a nearby farm at age 7, and at the age of 9, his mother selflessly gave the farmer custody of her son so Albert could learn a skilled trade that would support himself and his future family. He worked for the next 8 years without pay. At age 17, Albert moved to Richland, Michigan to work as a farm hand. That winter, he became an unpaid apprentice to a stonemason to learn the craft. After 6 years of back-breaking labor, Albert earned his journeyman status as a stonemason and bricklayer at the age of 23. Whereas Albert White, at age 25, married Fanny Blanche Phillips, daughter of a distinguished Kalamazoo family. Fanny was well-versed in business practices, and they became a dynamic team owning numerous properties. They loved and guided their 3 children, Orrin Wesley, James Melvin, and Vera Mae. Whereas Mr. Albert White, at the age of 25, started White's Construction Company. With a team of more than 50 Black, white, and immigrant employees as a highly skilled builder and fair supervisor, White's business flourished and contributed to the growth of the city of Kalamazoo and surrounding areas. As a Christian, he modeled honesty and respect, as those character traits were the standard amongst his team. Whereas Albert White, over the next 30 years, spanning 1896 to 1926, built many of Kalamazoo's paper mills. The paper industry was such an important part of our economy that Kalamazoo was nicknamed the Paper City, and thousands of Kalamazoo residents worked in mills built by White. Other iconic buildings White and his team built include the 3rd Kalamazoo Central High School, WMU's Heritage Hall, the Hawthorne and Riverview Paper Mills, Villas, St. Anthony's Home, the Claridge Fan Company Building, the Illinois Envelope Company, as well as additions to Kalamazoo Paper Mill, Plainwell High School, Nazareth Academy, including the beautiful stone wall that still surrounds that property today, and the first Borges Hospital on Portage Street. The Illinois Envelope Building is now home to the Kalamazoo County Health and Community Services. Whereas Albert and Fanny White built bridges between the races, had an impeccable work ethic, and valued education and community service. It was said that they never met a stranger and were welcomed guests in the homes of prominent city leaders. Fanny was a local member of the Women's Temperance Society, Civic Improvement League, and Needlework Guild. Fanny was vice president of the National Colored Baptist Women's Convention. Albert White was a man of faith and loved Kalamazoo. He was regarded as absolutely reliable as to integrity and as one of the most highly respected citizens of Kalamazoo County. Albert served as a deacon of Second Baptist Church for 30 years, while Fanny headed the building fund. Whereas Albert White retired from his masonry work in 1926. In 1930, at age 69, he passed away from a painful degenerative bone condition and was laid to rest at Riverside Cemetery. Fanny lived another 13 years. Family history recounts that his son Orrin took over the family business and that he and his team built the State Theater still downtown in downtown Kalamazoo. Now, well over 100 years later, the buildings that remain and the photos of those that once stood are a testimony to Albert and Fanny White's contributions to the city of Kalamazoo. Whereas Albert White has many relatives that have taken up the building trade, contributing to the state of Michigan in general and the city of Kalamazoo in particular. Whereas the county of Kalamazoo wishes to acknowledge and honor Mr. White for his lasting legacy of integrity, love of his community, and superior buildings which continue to serve our community. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners does hereby acknowledge with gratitude the many years of dedication and service that Mr. Albert White gave to the Kalamazoo County and the legacy he leaves with us.
Motion made by Commissioner Morales, supported by Vice Chair Taylor. Is there any further discussion? I know that members of Mr. White's family would like to address the board. I think I'd like to entertain you at this time if you would like to share your thoughts and reflections with us as we take our vote.
Thank you very much. My name is Raymond Gann. I'm the great nephew of Albert White. My sister Deborah Gann is the great niece of Albert White as well. So we're certainly honored and privileged to be able to stand before you today in appreciation to the wonderful proclamation that was just accepted by the commission. This is not a one-person journey. This is a journey of a family, a legacy that began in the late 1800s in the city of Kalamazoo and exists even to this day. Family's still here. We've been in Kalamazoo now for 160 years, a long time. Not many people can say that. But we have, I think, have had an impact on the city in shaping the scope, the direction of this wonderful city of Kalamazoo. Our love for Kalamazoo runs deep, as obviously you can speak to the fact that we've been here for so long. I want to also say thank you to Jim Rutherford for your tireless work, to Mike Evans, certainly appreciate it, from the Literacy Council, to all the individuals that have worked tirelessly through the Edison Neighborhood Association and the Edison Scholars and the family. We are so honored and privileged to be here for you, to stand before you today. So thank you very much. We appreciate it, and God bless you, and keep the faith.
Thank you so much for sharing that reflection and presenting our board with this really beautiful tribute to Mr. White. So with that, I'd like to call the roll.
Commissioner Mazer? Yes. Commissioner Morales? Yes. Commissioner Ray?
Yes.
Chair Strebs?
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler?
Yes.
Commissioner DeLu?
Yes.
Commissioner Gisler?
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler?
Yes.
9 yes.
The motion carries. Okay, I want to go down to. All right. All good things. Let's move forward next to our next, I'd entertain a motion. Proclamation honoring Dominic Lero for achieving the rank of Eagle Scout. Commissioner Wheeler.
Thank you, Chair. Whereas the Boy Scouts of America provides young individuals with the opportunity to develop leadership skills, community service, and personal character through its scouting programs. And whereas the rank of Eagle Scout represents the pinnacle of achievement in the Boy Scouts of America, a distinction earned by only a small percentage of Scouts through dedication, perseverance, and commitment to excellence. And whereas Dominic Laro of Troop 138 has demonstrated exceptional commitment to the principles of Scouting, including service to others, leadership, and the embodiment of the Scout Oath and Scout Law. And whereas Dominic Laro has completed all requirements to achieve the rank of Eagle Scout, including earning at least 21 merit badges and successfully planning, developing, and leading a community service project to benefit St. Jude's Church by constructing a Veterans Memorial Wall. Whereas this accomplishment not only reflects Dominic's individual dedication and hard work, but also serves as an inspiration to peers, family, and the community at large. In witness whereof, I hereunto basically at this day.
Good. Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, supported by Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler. Is there any further discussion? All right, clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Morales,
Yes.
Commissioner Ray,
Yes.
Chair Strips,
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler,
Yes.
Commissioner DeLu,
Yes.
Commissioner Gisler,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler,
Yes.
Commissioner Mazer,
Yes.
9 yes.
Motion carries. I don't think Dominic is with us in chambers, but congratulations to him. All right. Let us move forward. Next, we'll come to item 5 is communications. We have any communications that members wish to elevate? Vice Chair.
Yeah, I'm looking for it, but we just got something from, oh, here it is, from the Kalamazoo County Bar Association on behalf of encouraging us to hurry up on the parking structure across the street, basically.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Are there any others? All right, seeing none, let's move forward to item number 6, which will be approval of the minutes. Entertain a motion for the request of the approval of January 4th, 2025 Committee of the Whole and regular meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion by Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler, supported by Vice Chair Taylor. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Move next to our first opportunity for public comment. It's a time for members of the public to address the board.
Chair,
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Wheeler.
we skipped over approval of the agenda.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the assist. All right, I will entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved. Support.
Motion made by Vice Chair Taylor, supported by Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approval of the agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we'll move to public comment. Opportunity for members of the public to address the board on a topic of interest. You have up to 3 minutes. Members in chambers can come forward to the podium. Please share with us your name and where you live in the community. Are there any members of the public wishing to address the board? Seeing none in chambers. Dina, is there anyone online?
Chair, there are no hands raised.
All right, thank you. So at this time, I will close public comment and we will move to item 9, the consent agenda. Board has changed its processes. We will not read the consent agenda, though it is publicly posted within our meeting materials for the community. I'd entertain a motion.
Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda by one vote of the board.
Motion made by Vice Chair Taylor, supported by Commissioner Wheeler. Any further discussion? All right, clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Ray,
Yes.
Chair Strebs,
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler,
Yes.
Commissioner DeLu,
Yes.
Commissioner Gisler,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler,
Yes.
Commissioner Mazer,
Yes.
Commissioner Morales.
Yes.
9 yes.
That motion carries. All right, thank you. We move next to item 10, which is unfinished business and general orders. There being none, I'll move us to item 11, which is new business or non-consent. So here we have a request for approval and signature of a housing fund agreement with Housing Resources Incorporated for housing stabilization services in the amount of $288,000.
Chair, I move that we approve a housing fund agreement with Housing Resources Incorporated for housing stabilization services in the amount of $288,000.
Motion made by Vice Chair Taylor, supported by Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler. Is there any discussion? Vice Chair.
Just briefly, the reason I'm voting for this and I'm in support of this, the reason I pulled this from our consent agenda and wanted to do on new business is just so all commissioners are aware, this is a different funding than that was previously allocated. It's being used for a different purpose than we had said before. So I wanted to make sure that all commissioners got this information and knew that that was changing. So that's kind of why, not to take extra 3 to 5 minutes of everybody's life, but I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that.
Commissioner Ray.
Thank you, Vice Chair. What exactly is changing?
Thank you, Commissioner. So our request to bring it to non-consent. So this allocation was initially made through the housing millage to support the PODS program. As we're aware that effort fell through. So HRI is asking to retain those resources and to utilize them now for a different purpose. And I thought it was probably apt for us to have additional discussion about that. Can I seek some support from Housing Director? Would you like to summarize the intent of the request?
Wrong button. Sorry. Honorable Chair, Vice Chair, my name is Mary Balkema. I'm the Housing Director for Kalamazoo County. The original request was for $144,000 for 2 years. And since the PAD project can no longer go forward, they asked specifically for pre-eviction money, enrolling households in homeless prevention programs, paying first and last month's rent. So she included an additional memo. As you know, the housing need still is great in our community. So if we can help folks stay in their home, it still is a priority. They are running short on their prevention money. I think they have $3,500 left. As of 2/9, HRI has $3,500 remaining funding for security deposits, providing 3 households with this assistance. Not having funds for security deposits is a barrier to permanent housing that could also lead to the loss of the vouchers. And so it does remain a critical need. Housing Resources is a partner in the community. 70% of their funding comes from federal sources, which we know is in flux right now. So we would ask that you would approve this critical funding for Housing Resources Incorporated.
Commissioner Ray.
Thank you. Thank you for that, excuse me, background information. I am not a fan of Housing Resources. I don't think it's a secret. Every time someone calls, they always say they don't have money, and I don't really know that they're helping people. I will say that I'm gonna support this because I too don't want to see people outside, but I do want to see a report on how the funds were spent, and also don't want to have the same conversation next year where they're trying to utilize the same funding for something else because they didn't use it for this. But thank you. That's it.
Chair, that's valuable feedback, and I will ask her for a report on the funding to come back to this board as part of our compliance.
Thank you. And Director Balkema, could you help clarify the initial request and the one in front of us is an increase? So can you help me understand the difference in funding and what are we drawing out of what year's allocations for the housing millage? Can you clarify for me, please?
Sure, thank you, Chair. The 144,000 was out of 2024 and 144,000 was out of 2025. So I just combined them under one request and we have the funding for both years.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Commissioners. So we have a motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. All right, that brings us now to item 12. This is our second opportunity for public comment. Again, anyone in chambers wishing to speak to the board is welcome to come forward and join us. Seeing no one, Dina, do we have anyone online for this round?
Chair, there are no hands raised.
All right, seeing none, we will close public comment. And we will move to item 13, reports of officers, bodies, administrator, and controller. So I will open, there's a lot of moving concern in the community, and I'd hope to have well thought out commentary to help provide some insight to us, and I don't have that tonight. What I do know is that the challenges before our community are extremely great, and the times ahead of us unfortunately look to be extremely grave. And there is a time where folks who don't see that yet will, and who don't feel that yet will. And I want to reiterate from the outset that when that time comes, and when people who, maybe were in agreement that this was the right path forward, or they received information that fooled them into thinking the direction was going to be different than what's being laid out, collaboration with everybody in the community will be welcome. And working together to persevere the time ahead will be welcome. It will be needed. And it will be what this community chooses to demonstrate as who we are. We had very apt public comment earlier this evening at our committee of the whole, and I want to elevate to that gentleman if he happens to glean our comments this evening. The county board and administration, with assistance from administration, is in the process of, we've already identified funding at risk to programs and services from federal funding and through state funding that is a pass-through. We'll be gleaning additional detail on the specific programmatic impacts that those have. So we're going to identify the number of staff in county government that are involved, the populations that they're serving, the number of people that those programs touch. And we're going to elevate each of those individual cases up to both our municipal elected partners and to our federal electeds as well. Vice Chair elevated the reinvigoration of something that we've referred to in the past as a council of governments. So we'll be working to figure out the most appropriate venue to begin bringing our municipal leaders together in real dialogue, rather than what often can become the case of competition, or it's an opportunity for us to connect and link together and work together. And that will be absolutely critical in the time ahead. I've also asked, in that same vein, and really in response to that ask for transparency we heard earlier, for us to seek the opportunity as quickly as we can to convene a town hall meeting with members of the community where we can provide more open dialogue and detail about what we see as the impacts and what we can glean from them about what and how we should prioritize the impacts in front of us. To community members out there who remain scared and concerned, whose livelihoods feel threatened, those fears and concerns are real, unfortunately. And in times that challenge us, we have to remember who we are and what we are as community. And when we remember that and we walk away from fear and we walk back towards community and connection, that is our opportunity to not only solve the issues in front of us now, but to craft a way forward in what comes after. And that's the challenge that all of us have. It's not one that maybe we hope to sign up for, but it is the one in front of us. So I just want to lift those things up. I encourage community to connect. We are in an era where we're very isolated from one another, and fear will push many to feel isolated more. So it's time to have the friends over for dinner. It's time to start that book club. It's time to start a sewing circle. It's time to get out into the streets and organize and protest. All of those things are forces for positive good that we can put into the world. And I encourage all of us to do that. I will continue to be thinking and working and talking to try to advance the things that I can do as an individual and as a member of this board. And I look forward to trying to engage in all of that with community and the rest of our commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll start my comments with my Commissioner Gisler touched on it. We lost a legend since the last county commissioner, and Commissioner John Zoll. We didn't get I served 10 years with Commissioner Zoll, and I didn't get along with him all the time, and we very rarely agreed. But nobody gets along with me all the time. But we didn't agree on that much. But one thing I will say is he was a good man. He was a very, very thorough. He cared about his community, his service in the Portage Public Schools, his service then later on into county government. I think he was served 20 years or close to it on the County Board of Commissioners. So he was here with us for a long time. And I think the county is a better place because of his service. So thank you, John Zoll, for all you do. And thank you for the family for letting us serve with him. We're coming up on some big discussions here at the county as far, and not to steal too much of Kevin's thunder, but we're deciding, what is the future of Kalamazoo County and what does that future look like as far as a physical footprint? How can we increase efficiencies and put more money back into our community and put more money back into programs? I'm excited on this process, and the decisions that will be made by the 9 of us sitting around this dais will have consequences that go several years and decades into the future. I think it's a big discussion that we're going to be having in the next few meetings, and I'm really looking forward to it because I think it could be very impactful for the coming decades of Kalamazoo County. And lastly, we received a presentation at our committee of the whole from Discover Kalamazoo about the potential of an indoor facility. That although I kind of agree with Chair Strebs that the Municipal Financing Act and the way that the law was written for one room, one vote isn't necessarily equitable, but that's what the tools that were given to us. And with that tool, we have the opportunity to increase the wealth and prosperity of our region quite dramatically, actually, with a tax that will not be incurred by most our assessment, thank you, Commissioner Wheeler, assessment that will not be assessed, or will not be incurred by a majority of the citizens of Kalamazoo County. And it will help the people that are bearing that burden, the hoteliers, by increasing their room nights. I think it's an economic development move. I think it's a great move for the public health of our community, specifically our youth. I think we're proving again and again and again that local government done well, done effectively, done transparently, can do good things for people, can make the lives of our citizens better. And, I know that's why the 9 of us are sitting around here today. So it's another win. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Administrator. Let's see. Oh, I'm so sorry. Look at me. I'm so rude. My apologies. Vice Chair Pro Tem.
No problem, Chair. Thank you. I'm used to being ignored. I do it at home all the time. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you very much. I concur with what you're saying. I think we have a lot of things that we're going to have to deal with over the next several months. We got a lot of big issues coming up. I hear more about why don't we have a parking structure next door? That's a everyday topic. And why don't we have a fair this year? And we've already trying to address those things. Our Parks Department is working diligently to have a plan to put in place, and we're hoping that, or we're planning that we're going to have the regular, our version of a county fair that supports our 4-H program, which is important to much of our community. I represent the number, 4 of the townships. Commissioner Gisler represents another 5 of the townships that are rural, that have the farming industry on them. That represents a great deal of Kalamazoo County. So we hear from those folks and we want to support them, and we want to see this get back in. And I think this board has been monumental in advising our Parks Department. We're going to have a fair in 26 with carnival rides, etc. So do not give up hope. Do not quit 4-H. Support 4-H. They are an important part of Kalamazoo County. And I encourage you to help our Parks Department, because they're going to need a great deal of support as far as volunteers and folks to help them put these programs together and put them out there for our 4-H kids and for our community. So do not give up hope on this. We are working towards this, having an end result that works for this county, and that we will have back to having a good quality fair for our Kalamazoo County. With that said, we're working on the parking structure. I'm sure Kevin, I hope our administrator will, elaborate a little more on that. We already had a couple of meetings, or a meeting, and we're working towards that. So don't give up on that, folks. We're getting there. I'm hoping that we all can keep in mind, especially during this cold weather, men and women that protect us both abroad and at home, our firemen, our policemen, our ambulance folks that are out there in the same weather, trying to help our citizens and protect them from what terrible things we seem to see, the accidents, the fires, etc. Take a minute to thank them for their service. Our military folks, both here and abroad, that work diligently to protect our community and our way of life. They're critical to us. When you see them, tell them thanks. And keep in mind, all of the folks that are out there, our road departments, our public works departments, working through this weather to try to keep our roads as safe as we can. Our health department, our staff here at the county that works diligently to make us efficient and provide services to our many citizens and businesses here in Kalamazoo County. With that, I hope everybody has a safe week. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Pro Tem. Okay, now I'll pick on Administrator Catlin.
All right, thank you, Chair, Vice Chair Pro Tem Commissioner. So this evening, obviously, we have a lot of irons in the fire, and so one of the major projects that was discussed was the parking garage. And so we held a meeting last week and got through some of the initial preparation and planning that will really set the stage for how this work is executed in the future. We're looking at a regular meeting cadence, so we'll meet every 2 weeks, beginning on the 28th of this month. And so right now, the vendor that we're working with, Fishback, they're going back to their subcontractors and such to prepare additional information for the board leadership and our team to consider as we move forward through the process. This work is really being performed in lockstep with our facilities master plan because there are implications in terms of sort of the exciting kind of project we have associated with the administration building as well. So we're kind of doing both of those in lockstep and hopefully can bring some information back to this body to make an informed decision moving forward on how we move forward with this building, the parking garage, and other facilities around the county. So we're really excited about that work, and it's about time the county starts investing in these right strategic plans to make these informed decisions moving forward. So we're really appreciative of that and the amount of hard work you all are spending on it as well. We did, and as of tonight, we're engaging the countywide elected offices, the courts, and our administrative department heads to evaluate the federal and state resources that we are awarded and kind of provide that overview of how that would affect staff, but then also the constituents that we serve, as well as the programs that we deliver on behalf of our residents in the county. And so we should hopefully have some information back by the March 4th meeting, but I'm asking folks if that'll be enough time. But we are going to be preparing that information. We've already done a lot of the work in terms of the financial impact kind of enterprise wide, but now we'll kind of look at what those programs are, what's being delivered, and then kind of what impact it'll have at the local level. So we'll be working on that. I wanted to give you an update on our HR director search. We did conduct first round interviews maybe it was about 3 weeks ago now. Very successful. We actually had a candidate, but unfortunately, that candidate just did not work out. So we have 7 additional interviews scheduled this Friday. And so we have an entire panel that's on that interview team. And so we're just trying to make a very good decision moving forward because that position is critical for county government. And we need someone with specific experience in government. And so we're really trying to make a thoughtful decision here and an inclusive decision with all the folks that we have participating on the panel. So we're hopeful that someone will shine through this Friday and we'll be able to extend another offer. Wanted to let you know that the RX Kids program that's administered by the Kalamazoo Community Foundation has had an astounding 157 applications that were filed on launch day. So that's exciting. They believe around 130 of them are initially qualified. So just wanted to let you know that. As a reminder, a funders reception is being held Thursday at 4:30 p.m. at the Radisson. And so you're invited to that as Board of Commissioners. Obviously, as you know, we also proclaimed or honored Albert White. And so that his commemoration ceremony is being held tomorrow at HCS at 4:30 p.m. And so there will be a short program there and the entire public is invited out to that. So we hope that you're able to join us. And that program will also be streamed from PMN as well and on live cable television on channel 190. And something that I'm excited about, and just because I think that, just the little things, I think, really, just, we kind of take things for granted, right? So we have a new website and the new website is fantastic. I think, a lot of there's always, when you always implement something, there's bugs and everything, but to be honest, that was a huge feat in that website under our PIO Taylor's management is really implemented very well, and it's exciting. To go along with that, a lot of folks probably didn't realize, but our HR team also implemented simultaneously with that a new HR portal for applicant tracking system. So there's a new way to apply for jobs and to have your information saved so that you don't have to fill out an application in totality every single time. So you create an account and can expedite your application process and your history saved and things of that nature. But then it all feeds through our ERP system, that we've had some trouble with in the beginning, but we've been able to leverage the true power of it. And so we're excited about that. So huge kudos goes out to the HR department for championing, the technology that they have in front of them and make their jobs a little bit more easier on the hiring side as well. So that's all the information I have, but happy to answer any questions as they come up. Thank you.
Thank you, Administrator. Seeing no questions, we'll move to Commissioner time. Would you like to start us off, Commissioner DeLu?
Look at the time. It's 7:60.
Mr. 6:30.
Yeah. No, I don't really have anything tonight. I just wanted to, Commissioner Hepler forgot to say we were doing our best to make this a place to live, work, and play. So it has to be said. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gissler.
Thank you, Chair. I can only say that the letter we received today from the lawyers is not anything new. Everybody's concerned about parking downtown, and we'll see how long it takes for us to solve that problem. But parking ramps don't just grow out of the ground. They take some time. I'd also like to announce that the chap who's going to be addressing my group, the Kalamazoo Citizens for Responsible Government, at 8:30 a.m. on March 10th is Tim Raymond. He's the CEO of Greenleaf the Greenleaf organization, and is the ramrod on the event center. So he's going to have more information than I've ever seen concerning, the scheduling and when it's going to happen and what's going to happen and that sort of thing. So I'm really looking forward to it. And that's everyone's invited that would like to participate. It's going to be at 8:30 in the morning on March 10th at used to be called Michelle's on Romance Road in Portage. It's now Mark's Diner in Portage, same location, same staff and that sort of thing. So please sit in if you want to. And, other than that, I'm just pleased that I was able to spend as much time with John Zoll as I did. And don't feel bad, John. John and I didn't always get along either. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Mazer. Okay. Commissioner Morales.
Thank you, Chair. I do have a few things. One, I've been getting calls just from constituents worrying about what's going on. So I reached out to Trevor, which is one of Rep. Heisinger's, I can't think of what his role is, but staff member. Administration. So reached out to them to try to get a direct appointment with Heisinger, but he's backed up, running back and forth. So I put it on pause. I am working to schedule another appointment so that I got some direct questions from my constituents. However, if you want to reach out to Heisinger, they are taking calls. So I guess they've cleared up DC phone lines. So I have a number for him. I'm not leaving our senators out of this. So for Rep. Heisinger, for constituents that want to reach out, I would say when you're calling your reps, 1 or 2 comments, because they're taking many calls a day, call back another time if you have more. And then my constituents recommended that you have them read it back. So just to make sure your points are on there. So for Heisinger, I have 202-225-4401. And we're looking for a town hall from our federal leaders, that they make time, especially representing Michigan as they come back and forth and travel. We know that Huizenga is in Holland, but it's our expectation that he makes his way down to Kalamazoo. Slotkin is 202-224-4822. Peters is 202-224-6221. I also have been getting calls and messages left on why I decided to come forth and recommend that we pause on being a sanctuary county. I've explained to those constituents that have reached out, and I was asked to look into the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, that was put into play, and I got some notes here back in 1948. But just so constituents understand that it's not law abiding, like it's a good gesture to make sure that we protect immigrants and refugees. But, you know, if ICE comes, to make sure that refugees and immigrants know their rights. So I challenge you all to just type that in. It's UDHR, just to get a full overview of what that documentation looked like. It does get support from, you know, global agencies, but we still have to be careful as we come into contact with law enforcement. So my heart also goes out to a lot of disabled veterans that have lost their jobs recently in New York and in Michigan, and the job cuts that are happening right now through our federal government is very, very alarming. So my heart goes out to those folks. I don't know what our update is. I asked to have a update on what our budgeting will look like. I know it's roughly 20 to 25% of federal dollars that are funded with us. On the state level, that still impacts. I had some meetings over the weekend with some folks wanting to implement some programming that specifically with MyDart, that we don't know as we feed our community. MyDart has a lot of grant dollars that goes through the universities and different food banks in the area, and they don't know what that's going to look like in the next couple of years, which is alarming because we feed a lot of families through those grants. So they are looking to see how their budget is going to be impacted. So it could be a double hit from who we receive contributions from on the state level being impacted with federal dollars, and then federally who that money directly comes through, especially in the education system. So my concerns are the same as community concerns. I'm an educator, as everyone knows. We don't know what this is going to look like, even for educators who have jobs. So don't want to push any fear, you know, still you need to log off from the internet for a second so you're not consumed in propaganda and things that, you know, make you fear and scared of what's happening. I just encourage you all to, you know, do our best, stay warm. It's cold, I'm cold. We're supposed to have some really low temperatures. So I'm happy to see the funding that we supported today as we continue to make efforts to keep the unhoused warm. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Commissioner Wheeler.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to say I'm very excited for the facility coming from Discover Kalamazoo. I think it'll be really great for the youth of this county. I know Jane from Discover Kalamazoo has talked to a programming director who's had to cut students from his program because he just doesn't have the court space to be able to provide that for his students. And so I know that it'll be great. Just want to say thank you to Chair Strabs and Commissioner Morales for your comments. It's we're in interesting times right now. So like Commissioner Morales said, if you need to log off social media and take a beat, go read a book, go for a walk, maybe inside because it's cold. But you have community members who are feeling the same way, who are around you, who you can talk to. So feel free to reach out, even, you know, if it's me as your commissioner, we can talk. So thanks.
Yeah. Commissioner Ray.
Yeah, I don't have much. I'm gonna get back the 30 minutes that Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler took. Just want to lift up that the heads in beds is kind of going on right now. as it's extremely cold outside. So as you see folks outside hanging out with nowhere to go, kind of direct them to Judy to call so they can get a room. And then also just want to note that commissioner time is like long and we don't spend any time on the agenda and I don't like it. So I'm gonna say that every time. I'm not in favor of us not reading the consent agenda. And I hope that we can bring that back and vote when I'm here. Because 30 minutes commissioner time and 2 minutes handling the county's business doesn't feel right for me. But that's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Ray. With that, the last thing I'll say is our Constitution is at threat and freedom exists only so long as we stand for it. With that, we're adjourned.